Season of the Wish has nerfed everyone's favorite Solar Bonk Titan build, but honestly, even after the changes, it's still one of the best subclasses and builds to use in the game. I haven't done an updated build for this in a couple of seasons just because there really hasn't been any benefits to it, especially on the artifact, but this season, we have some bonuses to the Solar Subclass. Let's not waste any time and dive right into it. So exotic-wise, go ahead and put on your favorite pair of Synthoceps here. It's perk bonic enhancements. When you're surrounded, you gain increased melee and super damage, as well as improved weapon handling and reload speed. Note, the improved weapon handling and reload speed is an add-on. We don't have the extended melee range anymore, and we got a nerf to the damage of the melee and the super when we are surrounded, so do keep those things in mind. Now, like I said, we definitely want to take advantage of the artifact this time around. Since we are on the Solar Subclass, I am going to be using Flint Striker, so rapid solar weapon precision hits and final blows grant radiant. So you can either use this or Ember of Torches under the Fragments under the subclass, which I'll talk about that when we get to the subclass portion, but I do like Flint Striker this time around. Once we become radiant, we do get a couple of benefits. First up being Kindling Trigger. So now our solar weapons can apply Scorch to unscorched combatants. With Torch while we're radiant, we get increased weapon damage to combatants affected by Strand and Stasis debuffs. So if you're rocking a weapon, or your teammates are rocking a subclass or a weapon that can apply those debuffs, it basically free increased weapon damage. And then with Raised Precision, Solar Precision Final Blows cause combatants to ignite. This is really good for ad clear. And then some other ones you definitely want to look into are the Flame. So when you cast your Solar Super, grants nearby allies Radiant and increases the damage of your super for each nearby ally. That's kind of the main one here. It's especially good for dungeons, especially good for raids as well. Again, the more people you have, the more super your damage will do. And then I like Revitalizing Blast here, so causing damage with a solar ability weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. So all you need to do is, throw your throwing hammer, use a grenade on a target, proc that weaken, and then you can do even more weapon damage. Again, I personally like From Whence You Came. Again, just the free ability damage increase to taking and scoring combatants, which, again, that's what the season is kind of based around. Which in the being, again, while your super is nearly fully charged, ability final blows spawn orbs of power, basically free orbs of power. And then if you're going to be rocking a rocket launcher, you could put on Blast Radius and Argent Ordnance if you'd like, or if you're solo, put on Solar Operative. But again, the ones that I've selected are the main ones. Next, under the Sunbreaker subclass, I do have a couple different combinations here, and the first one I do want to talk about is the Burning Maul. Now, Burning Maul is the one where you can slam it on the ground, you can spin around, create tornadoes of flame. But the main thing with Burning Maul is that if you are going to be hot swapping once you get your super to Pyrogale Gauntlets for DPS, again, definitely go ahead and do that if you'd like. If you're not going to do it, that's totally fine. We could talk about Hammer of Soul. But if you don't know what Pyrogale Gauntlets do, essentially it turns your Burning Maul into a single one-hit super that does a lot of damage. It does have some bonuses to the consecration aspect, but we're not going to be using that. So if you didn't want to hot swap, that's totally fine. But I would recommend, if you are rocking Burning Maul with Pyrogale, definitely put on Ember of Beams here. So your solar super projectiles have stronger target acquisition. And I was looking at Reddit as well, and people were talking about this, initially when the exotic came out, is that with Ember of Beams, it actually does more damage with the Burning Maul because it can track the target better. I'm not sure why it does that, but I would recommend putting on Ember of Beams. Now, outside of that, for your abilities, you can use whatever barricade you want, whatever movement ability that you want. Again, I have Towering and Strafelift here. For the melee, you definitely want the Throwing Hammer. Now, the big thing with the Throwing Hammer is that this is the thing that kind of got nerfed, but essentially if you hit a target and you pick up your hammer, it takes 1.4 seconds for it to recharge before you can use it again. But the best way that I've found to do this is just use the Throwing Hammer, punch a target, use the Throwing Hammer, punch a target, because you can proc Scorch with just your regular melee. So, and there's ways to do that, which we'll talk about later. But for the grenade, I'm just going with the Solar Grenade, but for tougher activities, I would definitely recommend the Healing Grenade. People like the Fusion Grenade. Basically, use your favorite grenade here. For our aspects, first up, we're using Roaring Flame. So final blows with solar abilities or ignitions increase the damage of your solar abilities, and that can stack up to 3 times. For our second aspect, we're using Soul Invictus. So solar ability final blows, Hammer of Soul impacts, and defeated scorched targets create sunspots. Your abilities regenerate faster, and your super drains more slowly while standing in a sunspot. Sunspots apply Scorch and deal damage to targets inside. Entering a sunspot applies Restoration. That's the big one here, because that's how we're going to get that restoration proc if we're not using the Healing Grenade. Now, for other fragments, I am using Ember of Solace, so the Radiant and Restoration effects applied to me have an increased duration. Plus, with Ember of Empyrean, as long as I continue to get solar weapon or ability final blows, I can extend the duration of Restoration and Radiant and pretty much have it up all the time. I do like Ember of Ashes, so you apply more Scorch stacks to those targets. And then lastly, if you are going to be using Hammer of Soul, you can take off Ember of Beams. Especially with this season, you could put on Ember of Blistering, since you can ignite targets pretty easily with solar weapons. So defeating a target with solar ignitions grants grenade energy, so we can get that grenade back even faster. Whether it's, the solar, healing, fusion grenade, it doesn't really matter what you're using. You could put on Ember of Torches, so then your powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant, so it applies to you and allies. All you need to do is get a hit. You don't need a kill, and then you could take off Flint Striker and use it somewhere else. Next, going over the armor mods, starting with the helmet, I do have Harmonic Siphon, which translates to Solar Siphon, so the solar weapon final blows that I get rapidly will create an orb of power. Then I am rocking double hands-on, so I gain bonus super energy on melee kills. I will change these out depending on the activity, so if I do need heavy, I could put on Heavy Ammo Finder, give it to my teammates, Heavy Ammo Scout. If I need to use Radiant Light, so I pop my super, give my teammates armor charges. Same thing with Powerful Friends, I could put that on, but basically, you can use what you like depending on the activity here, but like I said, I personally like Harmonic Siphon with double hands-on. On the Gauntlets, I'm rocking double impact induction, so causing damage with a powered melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown, and then heavy-handed, so those powered melee final blows will create an orb of power. Note, heavy-handed, firepower, and the Reaper mod on the class item all have a 10-second cooldown between each time you can create an orb of power, but we're going to be using the melee anyway. It just makes sense to me. On the chest piece, you can rock whatever combination of reserve and resistance mods that you like. Again, if you want to take advantage of harmonic reserves, that translates to solar reserves. Again, it only costs 2 versus solar, which costs 3, so you can save on that. On the boots, I am rocking double solar weapon surge, so your solar weapons gain a small bonus to damage when you have an armor charge. Your armor charge now decays over time. Note, you gain armor charges by collecting orbs of power. With this build, we can have 3 armor charges, and with any of these blue mods, that makes those armor charges last 10 seconds, so we can have 30 seconds of that bonus weapon damage. And then lastly, I am using recuperation, so when I pick up an orb of power, it replenishes my health. And then lastly on the class item, I'm rocking double bomber, so it reduces my grenade cooldown when using my class ability, and then time dilation. So your decaying armor charge has a longer duration, so that 10 seconds that I mentioned gets bumped up to 15 seconds, so at 3 armor charges, we have 45 seconds of that bonus weapon damage. Now for stats to focus on, first up, we talk about every video, try to have tier 10 100 resilience, 30% damage reduction. You definitely want to take advantage of that for survival purposes. Plus, the Titan class ability is tied to resilience, so if you need to use that barricade, again, you'll have it more often than not with a high resilience. And then your other 2, I would focus on discipline, so you can have that grenade back faster, and then intellect to have a fast super cooldown. You don't need strength because we're going to get the melee back pretty quickly, and we really don't need recovery since we're going to have restoration. For your weapon options, under the primary slot, especially this season, I like a special weapon. Again, conditional finality is great, especially with the free ignition. If you get multiple kills with that ignition, it can proc Flint Striker here on the artifact, which is another thing that I really do like. But if you did want to apply a stasis debuff, find a fusion rifle that can come with chill clip, or the new fusion rifle, that strand, you can apply slice to this after using your class ability, so that will also apply a strand debuff, so then you can take advantage of torch on the artifact. Under the energy slot, I like a solar primary. You're gonna have this Abyss Defiant here, reconstruction, incandescent. This thing's fantastic here. Again, Epichal integration has incandescent. You have the Callus mini tool crafted with enhanced incandescent. You could use Sunshot as well. Sunshot is very good this season, especially after last season's hand cannon buff. If you did want to do double special, find a Cartesian coordinate with Vorpal on it. Again, you have multiple options here. And then under your heavy, rock your favorite heavy weapon. Again, I have this Apex Predator here, Recon bait and switch, Cataclysmic, 4 times the charm bait and switch. You have Lament, Dragon's Breath. You can use Galhorn if you'd like. Basically, put on your favorite solar heavy weapon. Now, if you got through all that and you're still a little confused about how this build works, again, I'm going to break it down for you, but it works pretty much the same as my previous Solar Bonk Titan build that I made seasons ago. All you really need to do when entering an engagement is throw your hammer at a target, create a sunspot. Now you have restoration. Whether you're using Ember of Torches or Flint Striker on the artifact, you can gain Radiant pretty easily. And then with Ember of Empyrean, you can basically keep up that up timer for as long as you like. With Ember of Solace, all that stuff lasts longer. So after just a couple of kills, now you can have unlimited restoration and Radiant. And again, with just your weapons, once you're Radiant, you're applying Scorch to unscorched targets. You can do more damage while you're Radiant as long as a target has a Strand or Stasis debuff applied to them. Get some precision kills, cause an ignition. And then when it becomes super time, all you really have to do, whether you're using Hammer of Soul with just Synthoceps, or if you're using Burning Maul and want to switch to Pyrogale Gauntlets for that one-hit super, just make sure you apply a debuff with Revitalizing Blast or Tractor Cannon or whatever, so you can add that weaken so you can do even more damage. And also make sure you pop your super near your allies so you can take advantage of Heart of the Flame so it does even more damage. The stuff on your armor mods is honestly just bonuses, allowing for orb generation, ability regen, faster super on melee kills, increased weapon damage because of solar weapon surge, and then obviously, you know, something like Wishing to Being on the artifact. When you're near your super, you're creating orbs of power from ability final blows, so you have a higher chance to get your super even faster. So this build is just like it was previously. It's just that Synthoceps got a little weaker, and you can't just spam the hammer all the time now. Now, what I will say is that when comparing this to Banner of War this season, even with all of the bonuses to the Solar Subclass, Solar Weapons, and everything like that, you can take advantage of half of this stuff on Banner of War. I already made a Banner of War video, updated video here on the channel. If you want to go check that out, fantastic. Definitely take advantage of it. Banner of War is still easily the best, build and subclass to use for the Titan. But acting like this one is bad, even after the nerf, is a little outrageous. It's still pretty good. You can still apply Restoration and Radiant consistently. You can blow up targets with ignitions because of the artifact. You get bonus super just from popping it near allies. Again, there are some benefits this season, but outside of the season, I'm not so sure. We'll definitely have to test it out. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is my Season of the Wish updated Solar Bonk Titan build. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, I'm going to put the dim link in the description, so if you want to copy everything that I'm using down to the subclass, the armor mods, even the drip, if you'd like. Some people are asking me about shaders and whatnot. Again, all that stuff is there on that dim link. And test out for yourself and let me know, again, if there's something under the subclass you like using, an armor mod, a certain weapon, something on the artifact. Again, if there's something that you like using in particular, definitely let me know in the comments. I'm testing stuff out in this game all the time. In any event, if what you saw was valuable or entertaining to you, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then turn on that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on another build video here on the channel. If you didn't know, we live stream here on YouTube and on Twitch. Again, that link will be in the description. We will be playing a lot of Destiny 2. We cleared the Warlord's Ruin dungeon in around an hour and a half, and then the second one we cleared it in 49 minutes. So we will be doing a lot of those dungeon carries. So if we're doing them live and you want to hop in, definitely hop in the chat. And if you want to be proactive, join my Discord. Again, we're trying to grow the Discord. We're trying to get more people that want to play Destiny 2 and do LFGs, dungeon carries, all that great jazz. But we are talking about other games in there, including Cyberpunk, PC Tech, anime, and more. Lastly, if you want to support the channel even more, you can look into becoming a member. If you don't know what a membership is essentially like a Twitch subscription. Again, you're going to get access to the exclusive emotes, the monthly badges, and other cool stuff here on the channel, cheaper than what is a Twitch subscription, technically speaking. So if you would like more information, all you need to do is press the join button next to subscribe, and that'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Roamed free, they reshaped Venus, unraveled reality